Welcome, dear subscribers and curious listeners of my channel. The Harry Potter films gained worldwide fame, but, as is often the case, not all details from the books made it to the screen. One character who ended up undeservedly overlooked is Professor Phileas Flitwick. Today we'll look at little-known facts about him that only book readers know. Enjoy watching. Number 1. Flitwick and Professor Sprout used to be a couple. For the 20th anniversary of the first book, new editions with previously unknown facts were released. In the Hufflepuff edition, it is stated that Professor Sprout had been in a long-term romantic relationship with Flitwick. Though their romance ended, they remained close and warm friends. Unsurprising, given their shared cheerfulness and kind nature. Number 2. The Sorting Hat nearly sent Flitwick to Gryffindor. Although he is the head of Ravenclaw, the Sorting Hat, his choice was far from obvious. It deliberated for several minutes, wavering between Gryffindor and Ravenclaw. Interestingly, the hat actually chose Gryffindor. But for some reason, Flitwick later became associated with Ravenclaw, possibly due to his academic talents. Number 3. A champion of the dueling club. In Chamber of Secrets, Hermione mentions that Flitwick was a champion duelist in his youth. This emphasizes that he is not just a kind-hearted charms professor, but also a formidable opponent in wizarding combat. Number 4. He preserved Fred and George Swamp as a memorial. In Order of the Phoenix, the Weasley twins create a portable swamp to distract Umbridge. The swamp was so brilliantly crafted that once Umbridge was gone, Flitwick removed it, but deliberately left a small section as a tribute to the Masters of Mischief. He even roped it off like a museum exhibit. Number 5. Flitwick enchanted the Hogwarts doors against Sirius Black. After Sirius Black's escape, Flitwick cast complex spells on the school doors. They were supposed to recognize Sirius and refuse to let him in. However, no one at the time suspected that Sirius was an animagus. He simply slipped inside in the form of a dog. Flitwick's charms were powerless against such cleverness. Number 6. Tedious. He asked the Grey Lady about Ravenclaw's diadem. As a former Ravenclaw, Flitwick was fascinated by the legend of the lost diadem. He, along with Dumbledore, actually tried to ask Helena Ravenclaw about its location. She refused to tell either of them. She confided only in 2 people, Tom Riddle and Harry Potter. Number 7. He was not a member of the Order of the Phoenix, though he fought Voldemort. Flitwick assisted Dumbledore in the fight against the Death Eaters during Voldemort's first rise to power. But unlike other professors, he did not become an official member of the Order. One theory is that Dumbledore wanted to protect him as a teacher responsible for the safety of the students. Number 8. Flitwick took part in the duel with Snape. In Deathly Hallows, the scene differs from the film. When McGonagall challenged Snape to a duel, Flitwick, Slughorn, and Sprout rushed to her aid. It was Flitwick who cast the spell that animated the suits of armor, briefly immobilizing Snape and giving McGonagall the crucial moment she needed. Number 9. Comforted Professor Trelawney after her humiliation. When Dolores Umbridge humiliated Professor Trelawney in Order of the Phoenix, the entire staff watched in silence. Trelawney, already fragile and prone to emotional outbursts, was left trembling after Umbridge's cruel dismissal. As the others avoided her, unsure how to respond, it was Flitwick who stepped forward. In a quiet, compassionate tone, he spoke to her, offering words of comfort. Rowling writes, Professor Flitwick, his face filled with sympathy, gently patted her shoulder. His small, caring gesture spoke volumes. Where others might have been indifferent, Flitwick showed a rare kindness, offering a moment of understanding amidst the cruelty of the situation. Flitwick, always the one to notice the emotions others tried to hide, didn't treat Trelawney's distress as a joke, as many others did. Instead, he offered her a safe space to recover. There, Professor Trelawney," he murmured, his voice soothing. It was a moment that revealed Flitwick. His deeper qualities, his empathy and willingness to stand by those who were hurting, even when it wasn't popular. In a world of harshness, Flitwick showed that kindness and a listening ear could be as powerful as any spell. Number 10, his high-pitched voice was mentioned in the books too. Flitwick's squeaky voice is one of the details the films got absolutely right. In the books, Rowling regularly describes him as speaking in a high, excited squeak, especially when he was nervous or overwhelmed. During exam season, his voice grew so sharp that students joked it could shatter glass. Once, while reminding his class about the theory portion of their charms OWL, he squealed, "Please don't forget your outlines." The line was delivered so anxiously that even Hermione hid a smile behind her quill. Harry remembers one particular scene in Prisoner of Azkaban. A stack of exam scrolls slipped from Flitwick's hands and showered across the floor. "Oh dear," he squeaked, scrambling to gather them. His voice bounced off the classroom walls like a frantic violin note. Ron whispered, "Blimey, he'll take off if it gets any higher." Flitwick pretended not to hear, but couldn't hide the faint twitch of amusement at the corner of his mouth. Despite the humor his voice sometimes created, students adored it. It made Flitwick feel approachable, even during stressful moments. When he calmed down, the squeak softened into a gentle, musical chirp, something that made even first years relax. His tiny height and high voice never diminished his authority. Instead, they became part of his charm, a reminder that great power can come in forms far from intimidating. Flitwick didn't need a booming command to earn respect. His magic spoke louder than any voice ever could. Number 11. Saved students from enchanted traps during the 6th year. During the events of Half-Blood Prince, strange accidents began trouble in Hogwarts. A cursed necklace, a poisoned bottle of mead, a vanishing cabinet humming with dark magic in the shadows. While most students whispered rumors, Professor Flitwick quietly worked behind the scenes. Rowling notes that he checked every suspicious object brought into the castle, his wand hovering just above the surface as he murmured detection spells. He knew someone was planning harm, and he refused to let a single child fall victim. One afternoon, McGonagall called him to the hospital wing after Katie Bell was struck by the cursed necklace. Flitwick arrived breathless, climbed onto a stool beside the bed, and traced delicate, glowing runes in the air. "This is no ordinary jinx," he said grimly. Pomfrey nodded, clearly shaken. His small hands moved quickly as he analyzed the lingering magic. He wasn't just identifying the curse, he was mapping the path it had taken, trying to understand who inside the castle had let such a thing slip through. His voice was tense. "We must examine everything the students touch." When Slughorn later delivered the poisoned mead, Flitwick was one of the first to help investigate the bottle. He cast a counter-hex so sharp it split the cork cleanly in half. Slughorn, pale and sweating, muttered, "Thank Merlin you were here, Phileas." Flitwick only shook his head. "This is no coincidence," he whispered. "He wasn't as part of the Order, but his actions were no less heroic." He risked himself every day, stepping between dark magic and the students who never even realized how close danger had come. Number 12. Deeply mourned Dumbledore, death. After Dumbledore's death in Half-Blood Prince, Hogwarts felt quieter, heavier, as if every stone had absorbed the grief. Few took the loss as painfully as Professor Flitwick. Harry once passed by the charms corridor and noticed a sliver of light under Flitwick's door. He paused. Inside, the tiny professor sat at his desk, shoulders trembling. Rolling rights that Flitwick looked small and crumpled, his face buried in his hands. Harry stepped back silently, realizing that even the most cheerful teachers were breaking. Flitwick had always admired Dumbledore, not just as a headmaster, but as a man of unmatched wisdom. In staff meetings, he would often glance toward Dumbledore with quiet respect, waiting for his soft-spoken guidance. When the headmaster entered a room, Flitwick straightened instinctively, eyes shining. Albus always believed in second chances, he once told a group of nervous first years, his voice full of fondness. Losing him felt like losing the very heart of Hogwarts. During the evening vigil, Flitwick stood among the teachers, his wand held high as sparks drifted into the night. Professor McGonagall later said she had never seen him so pale. When Hagrid sobbed uncontrollably, Flitwick reached for his arm, offering support despite barely reaching the half-giant's elbow. "We must honor him by protecting what he loved," Flitwick whispered. His voice cracked, but his resolve did not. That line became one of the quiet mantras among the staff in the days that followed. In the weeks after the funeral, students often spotted him lingering near the headmaster's empty chair in the great hall. He would stand there for a moment, touch the back of the seat, and walk away before anyone could approach. It was his private ritual, a way of saying goodbye piece by piece. Grief had made him smaller somehow, yet it also revealed the depth of his loyalty. In mourning Dumbledore, Flitwick showed just how enormous a heart could fit inside a very small wizard. Number 13 fought off giants during the Battle of Hogwarts. During the Battle of Hogwarts, Flitwick revealed a side of himself the films never showed. The tiny charms master stood on the castle ramparts, wand raised, facing enemies 10 times his size. When the giants charged across the grounds, shaking the very earth beneath them, Flitwick didn't retreat. He stepped forward, rolling rights that he sent, a jet of blue-white light, so powerful that it struck a giant square in the chest and knocked it backward. In that moment, he was not the cheerful professor from Charms class. He was a master duelist defending his home. The battle raged beneath the shattered sky. Rubble fell, arrows from centaurs whistled through the air. Hagrid shouted somewhere in the distance. Flitwick stood in the chaos like a spark of controlled lightning. When another giant attempted to push through the courtyard archway, Flitwick flicked his wand with a movement so fast even Harry barely saw it. The stone arch exploded into a shower of dust, blocking the giant's path. "Not today," Flitwick muttered, eyes narrowed. Professor Sprout later told students that she had never seen such raw power from him. "He fought like a wizard twice his size," she said, shaking her head in disbelief. For all his gentleness, Flitwick carried an intensity few ever witnessed. Every spell he cast that night was sharp, precise, and fueled by fierce loyalty to Hogwarts. Even Kingsley Shacklebolt, a master duelist himself, nodded in respect as Flitwick repelled a blow that would have crushed a normal wizard. When the giant forces finally retreated, the courtyard was cracked and smoking. Flitwick stood among the debris, breathless but unshaken, his robes torn at the hem. Students watching from the windows would remember the image for years, a tiny figure illuminated by moonlight, wand still warm, having held back monsters with nothing but brilliance and courage. It was the moment the world finally saw the true power of Professor Phileas Flitwick. Number 14 secretly gave Harry candy after his Skeeter interview. After Harry's controversial interview with Rita Skeeter in Order of the Phoenix, the castle buzzed with whispers. Many teachers agreed with every word he said, but couldn't risk showing it. Umbridge's shadow hung over Hogwarts, and even a sympathetic glance could bring trouble. Flitwick understood this better than anyone. One afternoon, as Harry passed him in the corridor, the tiny charms master stopped him with a gentle tap on the elbow. He looked around first, making sure no pink cardigan was lurking nearby. Then he reached into his robes and produced a small, neatly wrapped box of chocolate frogs. "For improved morale," Flitwick murmured with a quick smile. Rowling writes that Harry felt warmth spread through him at the sight of the familiar blue box. It was such a simple gesture, but it came at a moment when Harry felt most isolated. The forbidden candy tasted sweeter because it was an act of defiance, however small. Harry later told Ron that it felt like someone whispering a thank you in the middle of a shouting crowd. Flitwick's gift wasn't loud, bold, or heroic. It didn't need to be. It carried the message no other teacher dared to speak. "I believe you. I'm on your side." In a school wrapped in tension, that tiny box became a lifeline. Moments like this revealed who Flitwick truly was. Not just a brilliant duelist or a master of charms, but a man with a soft heart and quiet courage. He fought cruelty not with speeches, but with small acts of kindness that stayed with Harry long after the chocolate frogs were gone. Number 15 loved using live fairies for Christmas decorations. Flitwick's love for Christmas decorations was legendary at Hogwarts, and nothing captured it better than his tradition of using real, living fairies. Every December he would stand on a stack of books beside the towering Christmas trees in the Great Hall, wand in hand, gently guiding dozens of glowing fairies into place. In Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, J.K. Rowling describes how tiny, shimmering fairies fluttered among the branches, scattering sparks like snowflakes. Well, it wasn't just decoration. It was spectacle, magic, and joy made visible. Students often paused just to watch him work. Professor McGonagall once smiled and said, "No one does Christmas quite like you, Phileas." He only laughed, cheeks pink with excitement, as the fairies spun tiny circles above him. Their light reflected in his eyes, making him look like the happiest wizard in the castle. Even the usually unimpressed Snape was seen glancing up at them with something close to curiosity. One year, according to an anecdote shared by Percy Weasley, a particularly mischievous fairy tugged on his prefect badge and darted away, sparkling with pride. Flitwick followed her flight with delight rather than annoyance. "They have personality," he said, tapping his wand and gently guiding her back to the tree. It showed how deeply he valued even the smallest magical creatures and how naturally he turned chaos into charm. These fairy-filled trees revealed the heart of Flitwick. His character, creative, warm, and endlessly attentive to the details that make magic feel alive. Christmas at Hogwarts wasn't just decorated, it was enchanted, and it was Flitwick's fairies that made the Great Hall glow in a way no other wizard could replicate. Number 16 praised Hermione's shield charm in class. Professor Phileas Flitwick, the charms master at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, is a character who often goes unnoticed in the larger scope of Harry Potter's magical world. Known for his small stature, immense talent in charms and seemingly endless patience, Flitwick is a wizard of considerable skill. But there's one particular moment from the books that stands out, a subtle yet meaningful instance that showcases his admiration for one of his students, Hermione Granger. In a seemingly minor scene, Professor Flitwick praises Hermione's performance of the Seventh spell, a moment that carries weight far beyond what appears at first glance. When Hermione Granger demonstrated her mastery of the shield charm during a charms lesson, it wasn't merely a moment of personal achievement for her. It became a testament to her abilities, and Professor Flitwick, as the teacher, was quick to recognize the significance of her talent. "Well done, Miss Granger," he said, clearly impressed by her performance. Not many students perform that charm so well, even at the advanced level. This remark, while brief, carries much more weight when you consider Flitwick's background and the context of the magical world. Flitwick, a former dueling champion, is well versed in the art of defense and charms, and his expertise is unparalleled. It is not easy to earn his praise, especially in a subject as complex as charms. The shield charm, Sheets Ties Quote 10, seen as one of the foundational defensive spells, but it requires precision, concentration, and a deep understanding of magical theory to cast effectively. For Hermione to execute it flawlessly as a first-year student was nothing short of extraordinary. Even among older students, many would struggle with the intricacies of the spell, yet Hermione performed it with ease. In the context of Hogwarts, where the students are divided into houses and often compete with one another for attention and approval, Professor Flitwick's praise stands as a rare moment of recognition. Most of the professors at Hogwarts, including the formidable Professor Snape and the stern Professor McGonagall, are often harder to impress. Their praise is typically reserved for extraordinary achievements, not small successes. Flitwick, however, was different. His tendency to acknowledge students' efforts, regardless of their house, demonstrated his genuine desire to nurture talent and encourage growth in his pupils. This praise of Hermione was significant, not only because of the nature of the spell, but also because it illustrated the way Flitwick viewed his students. He was not just a teacher imparting knowledge, he was a mentor, someone who understood the value of individual effort and the importance of encouraging students to push their limits. By highlighting Hermione's success with Protego, Flitwick affirmed that he saw her potential long before the larger battles of the series unfolded. It was an early moment of recognition that would echo throughout her journey, as Hermione continuously proved to be one of the brightest and most capable students in the entire magical world. But beyond the context of Hermione's talent, Professor Flitwick's praise was also a reflection of his character. Despite his small physical stature, Flitwick was a giant in terms of his magical abilities and knowledge. He was someone who had clearly seen the best and worst of the wizarding world, having been part of Hogwarts for decades. His position as charms master and head of Ravenclaw House did not just make him a respected authority figure, it also positioned him as a kind of magical arbiter, someone whose approval was not easily won. For him to single out Hermione's performance, especially in front of other students, underscored how much he valued not just raw talent, but the quiet dedication and hard work that Hermione put into her studies. There's a sense of quiet humility in Flitwick's character. While he never sought the spotlight for himself, he made sure to shine a light on the achievements of his students. In a world often preoccupied with fame and power, Flitwick's genuine and heartfelt praise for Hermione was a reminder that true excellence doesn't always come from grand gestures or public acclaim. Sometimes it comes from the dedication to personal growth, as demonstrated by Hermione. Flitwick's recognition of Hermione's ability to cast Protego also hints at his deeper understanding of the significance of defense against dark forces. In a world where dark magic constantly threatens the safety of the wizarding world, the ability to defend oneself and others is paramount. The shield charm, which creates an invisible barrier to deflect curses, represents not just physical protection but the idea of standing firm in the face of danger. When Flitwick praised Hermione's success with this charm, he was not merely acknowledging her magical prowess, he was recognizing her potential to stand up against the dark forces that loomed in the world around them. This moment also emphasizes the importance of Hermione's character throughout the series. She is consistently portrayed as someone who excels in academics and who values knowledge as a means of empowerment. While Harry and Ron often act impulsively or rely on their bravery, Hermione consistently represents the idea that knowledge is a form of strength. Professor Flitwick's recognition of her early abilities was a subtle but important acknowledgement of this aspect of her character. It also foreshadowed the role she would play in the coming battles against dark forces, where her intelligence and strategic thinking would become invaluable. Number 17 tried to maintain order during Celestina Warbeck concerts. Professor Flitwick, the diminutive and ever-enthusiastic charms instructor at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, is a character whose personality often shines through in subtle ways. Many students and even readers may only know him as the short, elderly professor who teaches them the delicate art of charms, but there is a fascinating layer to his character that only those who delve deeper into the books may be aware of. This lesser-known side of Flitwick is tied to his unshakable love for music and his relationship with Celestina Warbeck, the famous witch singer. This particular fact, his role in trying to maintain discipline during Celestina's concerts, is an intriguing piece of his character that reflects both his passion and his ineffable kindness. Professor Flitwick's passion for music, especially for Celestina Warbeck, is far more profound than a mere interest. In Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, the book offers a glimpse into Flitwick's life beyond the classroom. When the Hogwarts choir is preparing for a performance, Flitwick is determined to have them sing one of Warbeck's popular songs. Celestina, often referred to as the witch with the voice of a siren, was the most famous singer of the wizarding world, and her music captivated countless witches and wizards, including Flitwick himself. His admiration for her artistry led him to seek out the choir's talents, hoping to bring the magic of Warbeck's music into the very heart of Hogwarts. The books mention that Flitwick's attempts to bring Warbeck's music to life at Hogwarts were not always successful. Despite his enthusiasm and his vast knowledge of charms, he found it challenging to maintain order during the choir rehearsals. Hogwarts students, like any group of young people, were prone to distractions, and the excitement surrounding the idea of performing Warbeck's songs only heightened the students' playful energy. Instead of focusing on the music, the students often lost themselves in the thrill of the occasion. Some even found it difficult to remain disciplined, making it all the more challenging for Flitwick to keep them on task. Even in the midst of chaos, Flitwick's character shone through. He was known for his patience and his willingness to work with his students, understanding that their youthful exuberance could sometimes be difficult to contain. He never responded with anger or frustration, and he certainly never resorted to harsh measures to get his point across. Instead, Flitwick employed a more gentle and encouraging approach, though it was clear that he struggled to keep the choir focused. His attempts to maintain discipline during rehearsals were emblematic of the deeper side of his character, one that sought to nurture and guide rather than to punish. His connection to music and to Celestina Warbeck also highlights a side of Flitwick that was rarely seen in his professional capacity as a teacher. Flitwick, though a brilliant wizard and teacher, was not above the simple joys that many wizards and witches shared. His passion for music demonstrated that, like many of us, he sought out the things that brought him joy and fulfillment. It was a reminder that even in a world filled with dark magic and dangerous creatures, Flitwick found solace in something as pure and simple as a song. Yet, while his fondness for music was clear, Flitwick's role in these concerts was far from easy. At these performances, Flitwick would often be seen trying to maintain order, while his students, caught up in the excitement of the moment, would often break into laughter or start talking amongst themselves. This showed a side of him that is rarely acknowledged, his vulnerability as a teacher trying to juggle his love for music with the responsibility of keeping order in a school filled with mischievous students. This balancing act was not always successful, but it was one of his many attempts to encourage his students to appreciate the finer things in life. In Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, when Flitwick attempts to convince the choir to perform Celestina Warbeck, songs falter, the moment serves to illustrate the jovial yet challenging nature of his character. It is easy to overlook this scene, as it is brief, but it speaks volumes about Flitwick's role at Hogwarts. He was a man of joy and energy, but he was also tasked with maintaining order in a school that could often be chaotic. His love for Warbeck's music was a personal passion, one that he wished to share with his students, but it also served to highlight how deeply invested Flitwick was in creating a positive, creative atmosphere for his students. However, Flitwick's struggles with discipline were not a reflection of failure, rather, they were indicative of his nature as a teacher who did not rely on fear or authority. Unlike some of his colleagues who used strict rules and sometimes harsh methods to keep students in line, Flitwick's approach was far more nurturing. He wanted to inspire his students, not intimidate them, and his efforts to maintain order at these concerts, though frequently unsuccessful, were rooted in his desire to see the students enjoy the music and learn from it. His passion for the arts, combined with his gentle nature, made him a teacher who truly cared about his students' well-being and personal growth. The fact that Flitwick's efforts to bring Warbeck's music to life at Hogwarts were met with challenges is a testament to his persistence and his unwavering commitment to his students. Even though he was not always successful in keeping the students disciplined, he never gave up on his dream of bringing music into their lives. In many ways, his attempts to maintain order during these concerts were symbolic of his broader approach to teaching. He worked tirelessly to help his students appreciate the beauty of magic and the world around them, even when it seemed like they were more interested in having fun. Number 18 assessed Fred and George's enchantment skills. In the world of Harry Potter, Professor Phileas Flitwick stands as a particularly intriguing figure. As the charms master at Hogwarts, he has always been portrayed as an expert in magical theory, an enthusiastic instructor, and a little eccentric, traits that endear him to both students and readers alike. However, there is one detail about Flitwick's past that is often overlooked by casual fans but is crucial for those who have delved into the books more deeply. Professor Flitwick, in fact, was the one who administered Fred and George Weasley's exam on the ability to enchant objects, an important event that went largely unmentioned, but is nonetheless significant in understanding not just the twins, but also Flitwick's deep understanding of magic. Fred and George, ever the pranksters, were always trying to push the boundaries of magic, and from a young age, they were more interested in the lighter, trickier side of spells rather than the conventional uses taught at Hogwarts. Their mischievous nature was evident early on, and it wasn't long before they started considering their future beyond school. The idea of opening a joke shop, Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, became their obsession, and to make their dream a reality, they needed to prove that they could indeed handle enchantments on a practical level. In the book Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, it's revealed that the twins took their exam under Professor Flitwick's watchful eye. While the books Don give a comprehensive account of this exam, it is known that Flitwick was impressed by the Weasley twins' ability to enchant objects in unique, innovative ways. This moment is essential because it showcases Flitwick's broader understanding of magic. While most professors, particularly those teaching the core subjects like potions and transfiguration, focused on practical, controlled uses of magic, Flitwick had a particular appreciation for the quirky, the unorthodox. It's no surprise that when faced with Fred and George's antics, Flitwick saw through the chaos and recognized the sheer talent and creativity involved. This characteristic of Flitwick is best demonstrated by the way he reacts to the twins' performance. Rather than reprimanding them for using their talents in ways that were untraditional or borderline chaotic, he celebrated their ingenuity. Flitwick, as a character, always embodied the spirit of magical exploration, never fully adhering to the rigid rules that other professors might expect. While he might have been a strict teacher in class, there was an underlying sense of enjoyment in seeing students push boundaries. The twins were certainly doing just that, and Flitwick, rather than discouraging them, fostered their talents. The scene also serves to highlight the underlying narrative about Fred and George themselves. Their relationship with Flitwick is a crucial part of their evolution, from mischievous schoolboys to successful entrepreneurs. Their shop, after all, was built on exactly the kind of creativity and flair for magical innovation that Flitwick had recognized. This moment in Order of the Phoenix is more than just a background detail. It is a subtle nod to the fact that Fred and George were not mere pranksters but skilled wizards with a genuine understanding of magic. They weren't just creating tricks, they were inventing something new, taking magic in a direction that hadn't been seen before. This interaction also speaks volumes about Flitwick's personal philosophy regarding magic. While the wizarding world was steeped in tradition, with many families adhering to ancient magical customs, Flitwick, a half-blood wizard with a love for the more whimsical side of magic, was open to change and experimentation. His acceptance of Fred and George's unconventional magic was a quiet rebellion against the rigidity that often pervaded the magical community. Where others might have seen their antics as disruptive or even dangerous, Flitwick recognized the potential for something greater, a fresh perspective on what magic could do, how it could be used, and how it could entertain. For Flitwick, this exam wasn't just about testing basic magical skills. It was about evaluating how Fred and George approached magic itself. In many ways, their test reflected their broader approach to life. The twins had no interest in simply following the traditional path laid out for them by their family or the wizarding community. They were inventors, dreamers, and risk-takers, and Flitwick saw that. Their willingness to break the rules, their ability to see the fun and joy in magic rather than just its serious academic aspects, impressed him. He understood, as few others did, that magic was not just about control and precision, but also about imagination and freedom. The importance of Flitwick, S. role in the twins' development as wizards is often overlooked. His approval, albeit subtly given, played a vital part in their self-belief. After all, their idea for the joke shop was not a conventional one. Many would have laughed at it or dismissed it as a fleeting idea, but the twins were encouraged by Flitwick's confidence in their abilities. His quiet endorsement was a vital moment that, combined with their own determination, gave them the courage to pursue their dream further. In the end, this small but significant event also serves as an example of Flitwick's broader role in the Hogwarts community. He was a teacher who valued creativity and innovation as much as he did discipline and knowledge. He was someone who understood that the true essence of magic was not just in following established rules, but in the willingness to break them, to challenge what was known, and to explore the unknown. In many ways, Fred and George were the perfect students for Flitwick. They tested the boundaries of magic, and he responded not with criticism, but with admiration. Number 20 created magical rain to extinguish cursed fires. Professor Phileas Flitwick, the diminutive charms professor at Hogwarts, is often remembered for his delightful and endearing presence. However, there is one lesser-known aspect of his remarkable skill set that only those who read the Harry Potter books in their entirety would know: his expertise in creating a charm that could summon a captivating rain, a magical weather phenomenon that defies the conventional understanding of charms and spells. While many wizards are adept at performing standard spells, Flitwick's mastery of this particular charm is a testament to his deep knowledge of complex magic and his unique ability to manipulate nature itself. In Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, when the forces of darkness gathered outside Hogwarts and an attack seemed imminent, Flitwick played a crucial role in defending the castle. It was during this battle, when the castle was besieged by the Death Eaters and their forces, that Flitwick's prowess with the charm that creates a magical rain became evident. As the fires set by the dark wizards began to spread across the grounds, Flitwick cast his spell, creating a rainstorm that was no ordinary downpour. This was a rain of magical essence, capable of quelling even the destructive flames of dark magic. While many wizards can summon water with the basic aguamenti charm, Flitwick's version went far beyond that, creating a downpour that was not only physically wet, but also enchanting in its ability to undo the damage caused by curses and fire. What is most impressive about this spell is that it was specifically designed to counteract the effects of dark magic. The magical rain produced by Flitwick's charm didn't just extinguish fire, it nullified the evil force behind the flames, demonstrating an intricate understanding of elemental magic and how to combat the darker side of wizarding. This shows that Flitwick was no ordinary wizard. His ability to create a charm that could directly fight against dark magic speaks to his deep comprehension of magical theory and his unyielding devotion to the safety of those around him. It wasn't simply a display of technical wizardry, but a protective act that saved lives during the Battle of Hogwarts. It is also significant that this particular charm was not known to many in the wizarding world, even among those who practiced advanced magic. While many wizards can summon basic weather charms, Flitwick's control over the elements through his enchanting rain was a rare and refined skill. The fact that he had mastered it and was able to use it in a moment of crisis speaks volumes about his depth as a wizard. As Professor McGonagall noted during the battle, the magic that was being wielded by the defenders of Hogwarts was a mixture of skill, desperation, and hope. Flitwick's charm played a pivotal role in quelling the magical firestorm, showing that even the smallest wizard in stature could wield immense power when it came to protecting his students and his home. The creation of magical rain is a perfect example of how Flitwick's magical expertise wasn't confined to simple charms. He wasn't just the professor who taught levitation or how to make objects dance. He was a master of complex magic that required deep understanding and precision. This skill, though never fully explained in detail within the books, places him in the ranks of wizarding greats who had the ability to manipulate nature itself, a feat that very few could accomplish. By conjuring a rain that could overpower fire and even the cursed flames cast by Death Eaters, Flitwick revealed a side of himself that even the most seasoned wizards, including the Dark Lord himself, would likely have underestimated. The charm of magical rain was, in a sense, an expression of Flitwick's values as well. As a teacher at Hogwarts, he was always portrayed as compassionate, kind-hearted, and brave. It's no surprise that this same compassion would fuel his desire to protect the school and its inhabitants with such an extraordinary spell. The rain that he summoned wasn't just a tool of magic. It was a symbol of his commitment to safeguarding Hogwarts, even in the face of overwhelming odds. It was a testament to the lengths he would go to in order to protect his students and colleagues from the destructive forces of the Death Eaters. Beyond its physical effectiveness, Flitwick's charm carried with it an air of mystery and intrigue. The notion of a wizard being able to control the weather, not in the typical fashion of creating clouds or winds, but in a way that could directly counteract malevolent forces, is a fascinating concept. It raises the question of how many other hidden aspects of magical lore exist that are only known to a select few. Flitwick's rain is an example of how, within the magical world, there are layers of arcane knowledge and deep secrets that remain largely inaccessible to the general population. It was only in moments of great peril, such as the Battle of Hogwarts, that such profound magical knowledge came to light. One of the most striking things about the charm of magical rain is the level of trust Flitwick placed in his ability to perform it under pressure. In the heat of battle, with the castle under siege and lives hanging in the balance, Flitwick was able to calmly cast this spell without hesitation. He understood the stakes, and his mastery of this intricate magic gave him the confidence to use it as a last resort. This calm and collected demeanour, especially in a moment of such intense danger, illustrates why Flitwick was such a beloved professor and respected figure in the wizarding world. Moreover, the rain created by Flitwick, the spell wasn't just a show of magical strength. It also represented a metaphor for hope and renewal. In many cultures, rain is seen as a symbol of cleansing, of washing away the old and making way for new beginnings. In the context of the Battle of Hogwarts, the charm may have symbolized the possibility of overcoming darkness and destruction, allowing the forces of good to find a way to triumph despite the overwhelming odds stacked against them. Flitwick, through his reign, provided not only physical protection, but also emotional comfort, reminding his allies that there was still hope, even in the face of death and ruin. The complexity of Flitwick's magical abilities, especially his ability to perform such intricate and rare spells, serves as a reminder that not all wizards are defined by their outward appearances or their station in life. Flitwick, small in stature yet immense in talent, proves that greatness in the magical world doesn't necessarily come from power or force, but from skill, knowledge, and the desire to protect and defend. His charm of magical reign is but one example of how he was able to wield his magic not for personal gain, but for the greater good of his students and his community. The use of this magical reign also highlights Flitwick's affinity with the elements, a characteristic that is often overlooked when considering his role in the series. While many associate him with charm-based spells such as the levitation charm or the spell for making objects dance, his ability to influence the very weather around him speaks to a deeper connection with nature and the elemental forces. It is a side of him that not only reflects his personal magical proficiency, but also his deep respect for the natural world, a theme that runs throughout the Harry Potter series, particularly when considering how different characters relate to the environment around them. As the battle continued and more students and teachers alike rallied to defend Hogwarts, it became clear that Flitwick's contribution was invaluable. The charm that created the magical reign was a testament to his commitment to his school and his ability to remain calm under pressure. It also marked him as one of the most skilled wizards of his time, capable of wielding magic that was as beautiful as it was effective and as rare as it was powerful. In the end, his role in the Battle of Hogwarts is one that should not be underestimated, as it was his mastery of complex and rare magic that helped to turn the tide in favor of the defenders of Hogwarts. Flitwick's charm serves as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, those with the right skills and knowledge can shine through and make a difference. His reign, enchanting and powerful, continues to be a symbol of his unmatched expertise and his unwavering loyalty to his students and his cause. Number 21 helped enchant protective spells over Hogwarts. The story of Professor Flitwick is filled with many lesser-known chapters, but one of the most intriguing aspects of his character can be found in his crucial role in the protection of Hogwarts during the Second Wizarding War. Most fans know him as the small but mighty charms teacher, known for his expertise in spells and his eccentric, cheerful demeanor. However, for those who have read the books carefully, there's a hidden layer to his character, one that reveals his deep involvement in the safeguarding of the school during the darkest days of the wizarding world. As the shadow of Lord Voldemort loomed over the magical world, the safety of Hogwarts became more and more uncertain. Dumbledore, ever vigilant, knew that the school would not be immune to the dangers posed by the Dark Lord and his followers. It was a time when the walls of Hogwarts would be tested, both metaphorically and literally. In these times of peril, Dumbledore turned to his most trusted staff to ensure the students' safety, and Professor Flitwick played a pivotal role in fortifying the school against the growing threat. While most people are aware of the powerful protections that surround Hogwarts, from the enchantments that keep out unwanted visitors to the spells that protect the castle from dark magic, fewer are aware that Flitwick was one of the primary forces behind those protections. His knowledge of charms, both simple and complex, made him an invaluable asset in the task of strengthening Hogwarts' defences. Flitwick's magic was precise, subtle, and incredibly powerful, allowing him to weave enchantments that would detect dark magic and warn the school's defenders of any approaching threats. One of the most important aspects of Flitwick's contribution was the enhancement of the school's already formidable protective barriers. Hogwarts, even before the war, had an array of enchantments designed to ward off intruders. These enchantments were woven into the very fabric of the castle, ensuring that only those with good intentions could pass through the gates. But as Voldemort's forces grew in strength, these protections were no longer enough. The magic used to keep the school safe had to be amplified, and that's where Flitwick's expertise came into play. Flitwick wasn't simply casting new charms, he was strengthening ancient spells, carefully layering additional enchantments that would not only protect the school from physical threats, but also from the darker, more insidious types of magic that Voldemort's followers wielded. His ability to reinforce these barriers made Hogwarts an even more formidable fortress against the Dark Lord as forces. Flitwick's knowledge of defensive magic became vital in ensuring that the school was prepared for any eventuality, whether it was an attack from Death Eaters or the darker magic of Voldemort's supporters. But it wasn't just about the walls and the barriers. Flitwick's charms also extended to more subtle forms of protection. One of the most notable contributions he made was in the creation of charms that would alert the school to the presence of dark magic. Flitwick's spells had the ability to sense the use of dark spells, and when activated, they would send immediate warnings to those who needed to know. This foresight allowed the defenders of the school to act swiftly, even before a full-blown attack could take place. These charms provided a vital early warning system that proved to be critical when Voldemort's forces began to infiltrate Hogwarts and attack its students. Flitwick's role in enhancing the school's magical defences was not widely known by the students, but it became evident during the Battle of Hogwarts when the school's protections were put to the ultimate test. As the battle raged and Death Eaters stormed the castle, the enchantments Flitwick had woven were felt in every corner of the school. The protections were not invincible, but they were strong enough to provide the defenders with crucial moments of respite, allowing them to regroup and plan their strategies. The enchantments Flitwick had placed around the castle worked tirelessly to keep the students and staff safe, providing a buffer against the overwhelming power of the Dark Lord's followers. There is a quiet sense of pride in Flitwick's actions during these dark times. The book Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows reveals little about the specifics of Flitwick's involvement in the battle's protective measures, but it is clear that he was a key figure in the school's defense. In the chaos of the final battle, while other staff members were focused on direct combat or shielding the students, Flitwick's magic worked behind the scenes to fortify the school protections. His charms were not flashy or attention-grabbing, but they were powerful, essential, and, most importantly, effective. What makes Flitwick's involvement even more significant is the fact that, despite his status as one of the school's most talented and knowledgeable wizards, he didn't seek the limelight or recognition for his efforts. Throughout the books, Flitwick is often portrayed as a humble, unassuming figure who is content with his role as a teacher of charms. His contributions to the safety of Hogwarts were made quietly, without fanfare, as he did what was necessary to protect the students under his care. His humility and selflessness are qualities that are often overlooked, but are, in many ways, what made him such an indispensable member of the Hogwarts staff. Flitwick's role in the battle for Hogwarts also highlights the importance of teamwork in times of crisis. While other members of the staff, such as Professor McGonagall, who led the defense of the school's corridors, were involved in direct combat, Flitwick's strengths lay in the subtle, defensive aspects of magic. His role in strengthening the school's protective enchantments was integral to the overall strategy for defending Hogwarts. Together, the staff of Hogwarts, with their diverse areas of expertise, worked in harmony to ensure the safety of the students, and Flitwick's contributions were vital to that collective effort. The fact that Flitwick's contribution to the defense of Hogwarts is largely unrecognized by the students is a testament to his dedication and his belief that the safety of the students was more important than any personal recognition. Throughout the books, he is seen as a loyal and trustworthy member of the Hogwarts community, and his quiet, steadfast role in protecting the school is an extension of these characteristics. While the actions of other characters, such as Harry, Ron, and Hermione, are celebrated throughout the narrative, Flitwick's contributions remain quietly in the background, as he was content to let the magical protections speak for themselves. In a way, Flitwick's uncelebrated role in protecting Hogwarts mirrors his personality as a whole. He is a wizard who values the power of subtlety, precision, and the quiet but powerful application of magic. Unlike other, more flamboyant characters, Flitwick's magic is never showy or grandiose. Instead, it is effective, practical, and designed to meet the specific needs of the moment. His charms, carefully crafted to protect Hogwarts, were no exception. It is this ability to use magic in a way that is both practical and profound that makes Flitwick one of the most fascinating, yet often overlooked, characters in the Harry Potter series. In the end, it's clear that Professor Flitwick played a much larger role in the defense of Hogwarts than many fans realize. His expertise in charms and his subtle, powerful magic were key to ensuring the safety of the school during the Second Wizarding War. Flitwick's contributions, while largely unseen, were critical to the ultimate survival of Hogwarts and its students, and his role in protecting the castle serves as a reminder of the quiet but indispensable contributions that are often overlooked in times of great danger. Through his actions, Flitwick proved that even the smallest of wizards could make the biggest difference. Number 22 admired Luna Lovegood's unconventional thinking. Professor Flitwick was one of the most intriguing and beloved characters in the Harry Potter series, a figure who combined the charm of a respected teacher with the mystery of a magical expert. Known for his petite stature and eccentric ways, Flitwick often left a lasting impression on his students, but it was his admiration for one particular student, Luna Lovegood, that remained a fascinating tidbit that only those who had read the books would truly understand. Unlike many of his peers at Hogwarts, Professor Flitwick never mocked Luna for her peculiarities. Instead, he saw something special in her, something that most others failed to appreciate. Luna, often deemed strange by her fellow students, had a reputation for being a bit of an outsider. Her eccentric mannerisms, her wild beliefs, and her unique perspective on the world made her a target for ridicule. Yet where others saw oddity, Flitwick saw brilliance. He admired Luna for her ability to look beyond the conventional, to see the magical world with a sense of wonder that few others possessed. His view of Luna wasn't just one of tolerance, but of genuine respect. One of the most telling examples of Flitwick's admiration for Luna comes from Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. In this book, Flitwick's appreciation for Luna becomes evident when he speaks to the class about the nature of magic. While many professors might focus on technique, precision, or the conventional uses of magic, Flitwick took a different approach, emphasizing the importance of individuality in magical practice. "People like her make magic truly interesting," he remarked, referring to Luna, and in doing so he highlighted the very quality that made her stand out among the students. Luna's unorthodox way of thinking wasn't a flaw in his eyes, it was the very thing that made her fascinating and valuable in the magical world. This perspective, rare among the staff at Hogwarts, was part of what made Professor Flitwick so beloved by his students. He wasn't just a teacher, he was a mentor who recognized that the true magic of Hogwarts lay not in conformity, but in the richness of diversity. Where other professors may have discouraged students who didn't fit the mold, Flitwick encouraged them. He saw in Luna's unusual beliefs a form of creative magic that had the potential to enrich the world rather than hinder it. This attitude was something that Harry, Ron, Hermione, and countless others admired. While the other students often mocked Luna's beliefs in creatures like crumple-horned Snorkax or her theories about the Deathly Hallows, Flitwick understood the importance of such imaginative ideas. His respect for Luna was not limited to her thoughts on magical creatures, but extended to her overall approach to life. In a world where conformity was often valued, Luna's free-spirited nature was something that Flitwick recognized as a strength. Her unconventional way of thinking was not only magical in itself, but it also opened the door to new possibilities, new ideas, and new understandings of the magical world. What made Flitwick's admiration for Luna even more remarkable was the fact that it was never a surface-level appreciation. Flitwick wasn't simply being kind or polite when he spoke highly of Luna. He genuinely saw in her something unique that others, especially her classmates, failed to understand. His words about Luna weren't just a passing compliment. They were a deep recognition of her potential. The fact that he appreciated Luna for what she was, rather than for what others expected her to be, speaks volumes about his character as a teacher. For Luna, this recognition was significant. Though she often appeared to be unaffected by the scorn of her peers, the truth was that she longed for acceptance. She found solace in the few people who appreciated her for who she was. Professor Flitwick, who stood as a figure of authority and respect at Hogwarts, was one of the rare adults who saw her for her true worth. His words gave Luna the confidence to continue being herself, to embrace her quirks and eccentricities, and to hold her head high in the face of ridicule. In the broader context of the Hogwarts staff, Flitwick's attitude toward Luna also stood out because it contrasted so sharply with the way other teachers and students viewed her. While professors like Snape, Umbridge, and even McGonagall had their own moments of judgment or distaste toward Luna's unconventional ways, Flitwick's view was always one of acceptance and admiration. His encouragement served as a quiet but powerful counterbalance to the harshness that Luna often faced, both from her classmates and from the broader magical society. This dynamic between Flitwick and Luna also illustrates a central theme in the Harry Potter series, the importance of embracing individuality. Throughout the story, characters who are different or misunderstood often play crucial roles in the events that unfold. Luna herself is a prime example of this. Her peculiarities, far from being a hindrance, become key strengths in the fight against Voldemort. She, like Flitwick, understands that the world of magic is not just about following rules or fitting into a particular mold. It is about pushing boundaries and seeing the world in new ways. Flitwick's respect for Luna was not just about her intellect or magical ability, it was about her character. It was about her unshakable belief in her own version of reality, even when others doubted her. In many ways, Flitwick saw in Luna a reflection of the very essence of magic itself, a force that is unpredictable, mysterious, and above all, unique. The fact that he held her in such high regard speaks to his deeper understanding of what it means to be a wizard. Magic is not just about spells and potions, it is about seeing the world with fresh eyes, about embracing the unknown, and about finding wonder in the most unexpected places. While many students at Hogwarts, including Harry, Ron, and Hermione, had a more traditional view of magic and the wizarding world, Luna's perspective opened their eyes to new possibilities. Her unwavering belief in the impossible made her a valuable member of their circle, and Flitwick's support for her only deepened the impact she had on them. In a world that often sought to dismiss what was different, Flitwick's admiration for Luna was a reminder that sometimes the most important thing a person can do is embrace their own unique vision of the world. In many ways, Professor Flitwick's respect for Luna Lovegood serves as a lesson for both the characters in the story and the readers themselves. It is a reminder that true wisdom lies in recognizing the value of perspectives that differ from our own. It is a call to look beyond the surface and to appreciate the richness that diversity brings to the world. In a world full of prejudice, judgment, and conformity, Flitwick's admiration for Luna is a beacon of understanding, kindness, and acceptance, a rare but powerful force in the world of Harry Potter. Number 23. Studied forgotten spells and ancient magic. Professor Phileas Flitwick, the beloved charms master at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, is widely known for his cheerful demeanor, small stature, and exceptional skill in teaching spells. Yet beneath his amiable exterior and penchant for teaching levitation charms to first-year students lies a much deeper and fascinating side of this iconic wizard. What many do not realize, especially those only familiar with the films, is that Professor Flitwick was one of the few at Hogwarts who dedicated himself to the study of ancient magic, an area that many had long neglected or forgotten. This fact, however, is revealed more clearly to readers of the books than to those who only watched the movies, where Flitwick's role as a teacher of modern spells overshadows the quieter but more profound aspects of his expertise. Flitwick's deep interest in ancient magic is introduced in quote 34, where he casually mentions that he is working on the restoration of a forgotten charm. In the book, Flitwick is depicted as not just a teacher, but as a scholar dedicated to the recovery and preservation of magical knowledge that had fallen out of use. The specific charm he is trying to restore is intended to reinforce the walls of Hogwarts Castle, an ancient protective spell that had been all but forgotten. This revelation hints at his tireless research into older forms of magic, which are far more complex and powerful than the charms he teaches to his students. The fact that Flitwick is studying ancient magic shows a side of him that is not immediately visible to the students, or even to many of his colleagues. The charm he is working on in quote 36 is said to be an incredibly old and difficult spell capable of strengthening the very structure of Hogwarts. This spell has deep historical significance because it comes from a time long before modern magical theory took shape, when magic was wilder and more unpredictable. In his attempts to bring this spell back into the present, Flitwick not only reveals his knowledge of ancient magic, but also his commitment to maintaining the safety of Hogwarts and its students, especially in the face of growing threats from the dark forces. This adds another layer of depth to his character. He is not merely a teacher, passing on knowledge to the next generation. He is a protector, a researcher, and a master of magic that few others can fully comprehend. Flitwick. His pursuit of ancient magic also serves as a reflection of the changing world of wizardry. In the time of the founders of Hogwarts, magic was less codified, and spells were often tied to the ancient knowledge of the magical world as origins. Over time, this knowledge became fragmented, and with the rise of modern magic, many of the old spells were forgotten or lost. Flitwick's efforts to resurrect this charm highlight how, even in a world brimming with magical wonders, there are still aspects of magic that have slipped through the cracks of history, waiting to be rediscovered. One notable aspect of ancient magic is its connection to the history of Hogwarts itself. The school, founded by four of the most powerful witches and wizards in history, was built on the foundation of ancient magical knowledge. Many of the spells that were first practiced at Hogwarts during its early years were based on magical traditions that predated the school itself. For Flitwick to work on reviving such a spell is to engage with the roots of magical education at Hogwarts, reminding us that the school was not always as orderly or as structured as it is today. There is also a certain poignancy to Flitwick's quest to restore these ancient charms. In many ways, it reflects a personal dedication to preserving the magical legacy of the wizarding world, a world that is constantly changing and evolving. Throughout the series, we see various characters struggle with the loss of tradition or the erosion of the old ways, especially in times of crisis. Flitwick's research into ancient spells stands as a quiet act of resistance against the erosion of magical history. He understands the importance of these ancient forms of magic, not just for their power, but for their role in the broader understanding of the magical world. This attention to ancient magic also reveals a deeper philosophical belief in the cyclical nature of history. Flitwick's work shows that while progress and innovation are crucial to the advancement of magical knowledge, it is equally important to look to the past. The ancient spells and charms he studies are not mere curiosities or relics. They are essential pieces of a larger puzzle. By rediscovering them, Flitwick ensures that the wizarding world remains connected to its past while moving forward. This duality of honoring the past while embracing the future is central to the ongoing struggle in the wizarding world between the forces of good and evil. In addition to his scholarly pursuits, Professor Flitwick's passion for ancient magic also ties into his role as a member of the Order of the Phoenix. In the Order of the Phoenix, Flitwick is shown to be deeply involved in the fight against Voldemort's forces, using his expertise to help reinforce Hogwarts' defenses and to assist in the protection of the students. The spell he is working on, intended to strengthen the walls of Hogwarts, is a direct response to the looming danger that the school faces from the dark forces threatening it. In this way, his research is not only academic but also practical, aimed at preserving the safety of Hogwarts and its inhabitants. One of the key elements of Flitwick's character is his ability to balance his intellectual pursuits with his responsibilities as a teacher and a protector of the school. He is not one to simply sit in a dusty library poring over ancient texts. Instead, he actively seeks to apply the knowledge he uncovers to real-world problems. This is evident in his role during the Battle of Hogwarts, where his skill in charms is put to use in the defense of the castle. His expertise in ancient magic thus becomes a vital part of the broader fight against evil, and his contribution to the final battle is crucial, even though his involvement is not as overt as that of other characters like Harry, Hermione, or Ron. Professor Flitwick's engagement with ancient magic also speaks to the theme of knowledge as power in the Harry Potter series. Throughout the books, we see time and again that the characters who understand magic at its deepest levels are the ones who can make the greatest difference. Harry's triumphs are not just about his innate ability to perform magic, but about his understanding of the past and his ability to learn from those who came before him. Flitwick's knowledge of ancient spells is no different. It is his commitment to learning and his understanding of the power of the past that gives him a unique strength in the fight against evil. While Flitwick's passion for ancient magic may seem like a minor detail in the larger narrative, it serves as an important reminder that knowledge, in all its forms, is a key element of the battle between light and dark. The search for ancient spells, much like the search for lost truths, is a never-ending journey, one that requires not only skill, but also a deep sense of purpose. Flitwick's work in the realm of ancient magic is a testament to the fact that even in a world as magical and fantastical as that of Harry Potter, the past holds secrets that can shape the future. Professor Flitwick's study of ancient magic, therefore, is far more than a mere subplot. It is an essential part of his character and his contribution to the ongoing struggle against dark forces. Through his work, Flitwick ensures that the magical world does not forget its roots, and that the wisdom of the past continues to guide the present and future. His pursuit of ancient knowledge is not only a matter of scholarly interest, but a vital part of the fight for survival in a world that is constantly under threat. In this way, Flitwick's character embodies the importance of history, knowledge, and tradition in the face of uncertainty and danger. Number 24. Calmed a rampaging Christmas tree with charm work. In the world of Harry Potter, where magic is an everyday reality and every corner of Hogwarts hides a secret or a story, the character of Professor Phileas Flitwick often stands as a curious figure. He is the charming and diminutive charms professor, known for his expertise in the magical arts and his peculiar appearance. With his small stature and big heart, he often steals the spotlight in subtle ways, revealing facets of his personality and skills that many fans may not immediately recognize. One such detail comes from the Christmas episode in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, also known as Harry Potter, and the Sorcerer's Stone in some regions, where Flitwick's role in calming a particularly unruly Christmas tree is revealed. This moment, though not widely discussed, is one of the charming, behind-the-scenes instances that enrich the world J.K. Rowling has created. It occurs when Hagrid, ever the enthusiast for all things magical and dangerous, brings a magical tree into the Great Hall. But unlike the usual enchanted decorations that light up the festive space, this tree is more akin to a wild beast. beast is described as especially wild and temperamental, and it wreaks havoc throughout the hall, lashing out with its branches, hurling ornaments, and scattering tinsel like a wild animal in distress. The students, having already witnessed many of the professor's more structured lessons, watch as this rogue Christmas tree goes rogue, seemingly bent on destruction. At the centre of this chaotic scene stands Professor Flitwick, who, despite his small size, is an expert in charms with a particular flair for precision and elegance in his magic. It is Flitwick who steps forward to tame the beastly tree. His expertise is not just in magical theory, but in the subtle, often overlooked arts that require precision. In a moment that seems almost too delicate for the mayhem surrounding him, Flitwick works his charm. His gestures are sharp, controlled, and graceful as he casts calming spells to subdue the magical tree. The wild branches, once thrashing in fury, slowly begin to calm under his magic as influence. What makes this event particularly intriguing is the sense of familiarity and resigned routine in Flitwick's response. After the tree finally stops flinging ornaments and settles down, Flitwick gives a quiet sigh and mutters, "Every year the same thing." His words, though spoken under his breath, are laden with a sort of affectionate exasperation. To the students, this moment is not just one of magic, it reveals the depth of Flitwick's character. He is someone who has seen this chaos many times before and yet approaches it with the same quiet dignity and expertise. This small but telling moment sheds light on a few things about Flitwick, our character. First, it establishes that he has been a part of the Hogwarts staff long enough to witness repeated events, such as the untamed tree incident, which must happen annually. He is not just a teacher, he is a seasoned member of the Hogwarts community, someone who has lived through the peculiarities of magical life. Flitwick's quiet exasperation reveals a sense of comfort with the routine of Hogwarts life, despite the chaos that often surrounds him. While other professors might have been startled or perhaps lost their temper, Flitwick's reaction shows that he is used to the unpredictable nature of both his magical work and the students around him. Another layer of this incident is the way it emphasizes Flitwick's skill and reputation as a charms professor. The fact that a mere tree, albeit a magical one, could cause such havoc speaks to the unpredictability of magical creatures and objects in the wizarding world. However, Flitwick handles the situation with grace, using his magical expertise to calm the chaos. This not only shows his power as a wizard, but also his calm demeanor under pressure. It's clear that Flitwick is not just a teacher who deals with simple spells and incantations in the classroom. He is a master of his craft, able to perform complex, precise charms with ease. His understated approach contrasts sharply with the loud, boisterous energy that often fills Hogwarts, further adding to the charm of his character. The tree incident also reveals something important about Flitwick's relationship with the students. In the midst of all the mayhem, his words, "Every year the same thing," are a shared moment between him and the students, one of camaraderie and understanding. For the students, this moment is not just about Flitwick's magical prowess, it's a glimpse into his life outside of his lessons, a chance to see the human side of the professor who is usually so poised and professional. It humanizes him in a way that makes him relatable to the students, reminding them that even the most composed and powerful figures have their little moments of tiredness or exasperation. Additionally, this scene, though humorous, carries with it a reminder of the magical world unpredictability. In a school where enchanted objects can go haywire, where dangerous magical creatures lurk in the forbidden forest, and where chaos can ensue at any moment, this incident with the tree illustrates the everyday challenges faced by the magical community. It shows that even Christmas, a time of supposed joy and peace, can be filled with unexpected challenges. The calmness with which Flitwick handles this situation serves as a reminder that those who live in the magical world are constantly adapting, often finding grace in the chaos. Flitwick's calm and controlled response to the enchanted tree is also a demonstration of his deep understanding of the complexities of magic. While other wizards might have struggled with such a wild object, Flitwick's expertise allowed him to understand the magic at play and diffuse the situation. His mastery of charms is shown not just in the classroom, but in moments like these, where his skills are called upon to restore order from disorder. Furthermore, the scene is a subtle commentary on the nature of magic itself. In the world of Harry Potter, magic is not always a simple solution to a problem. It requires skill, control, and often patience. Flitwick's handling of the chaotic tree is a microcosm of the broader challenges that wizards face in their daily lives. Magic, while powerful, is not a tool to be wielded carelessly. It demands precision, responsibility, and care. Flitwick, in his quiet way, embodies this philosophy. What also makes this moment special is the way it contributes to the overall festive atmosphere of the holiday season at Hogwarts. Christmas at the school is a time of wonder and magic, but it's also a time when the challenges of the magical world are on full display. The enchanted tree's rampage is a perfect example of how even in moments of celebration, the magical world is never entirely predictable. This small incident adds to the festive chaos that makes Hogwarts feel alive, reminding both students and readers alike that the world of Harry Potter is filled with constant surprises. The tree as rampage and Flitwick as intervention, while comedic in nature, also show the professor's underlying affection for the students and their responsibility for the school as well-being. Flitwick, like many of the other teachers at Hogwarts, is more than just an instructor. He is a protector, a guide, and a stabilizing force within the sometimes chaotic world of magic. His ability to handle such situations with grace and humor only adds to the warmth of the Hogwarts community, making him one of the beloved characters in the Harry Potter series. Finally, this moment highlights the importance of small details in the Harry Potter series. It's easy to get caught up in the larger, more dramatic events, but moments like Flitwick handling of the Christmas tree are reminders that the little things, the small acts of magic, the everyday occurrences are what make the wizarding world feel so real and so enchanting. These moments help to build the world that fans have come to love, giving it depth and texture and showing that the magic of Hogwarts is not just in the grand adventures, but in the everyday moments that happen between them. Thus, the scene with Flitwick and the magical tree is a charming, almost hidden gem in the Harry Potter series, offering insight into Flitwick as character and the enchanting, unpredictable nature of the wizarding world. It is one of the many small, magical moments that make the Harry Potter books not just a tale of adventure, but a rich tapestry of life in a magical world where even the Christmas trees can have a mind of their own. Number 25. Silently stood up to Umbridge with dignified defiance. In the heart of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, there's a particularly quiet, yet telling moment involving Professor Flitwick, one that reveals more about his character than the casual observer might initially grasp. Professor Phileas Flitwick, the diminutive and often underestimated charms teacher at Hogwarts, had earned the reputation of being kind, helpful, and even somewhat unassuming. Yet beneath this polite exterior there lay a strength of character and an unyielding sense of dignity, qualities that would later prove crucial in the tense atmosphere of the fifth book. One of the most revealing moments of his subtle defiance came during the infamous arrival of Dolores Umbridge at the school, who, as the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, quickly began to impose her oppressive rule over both the staff and students. When Umbridge attempted to publicly humiliate Flitwick, questioning his credentials and qualifications in front of his students, she set the stage for a response that would make her regret ever challenging him. It was a brief moment in the larger narrative, but one that spoke volumes about Flitwick's sense of professionalism and personal integrity. Flitwick had, for the most part, kept to his role as a teacher without drawing attention to himself. He wasn't one for overt confrontation or drama. His classes were always engaging and his charm work was legendary, but his temper rarely flared. Yet Umbridge's provocation was different. Unlike some of the other professors who might have faltered under her pressure or even allowed her to trample over them, Flitwick remained steadfast and dignified. In one of the many power plays orchestrated by Umbridge, she questioned Flitwick's authority in front of his students, raising doubts about his qualifications to teach at Hogwarts. Her approach was calculated, meant to assert her control not only over the students but over the entire staff. However, she underestimated Flitwick's calm demeanour and, more importantly, his pride in his profession. He was not a man to tolerate public slander without response, especially when it came to his competence and years of dedicated service. With the students watching, Flitwick did not rise to the bait or engage in an angry rebuttal. Instead, his response was measured, precise, and cutting in its subtlety. Flitwick had been quietly a part of the wizarding world for years, serving as the charms professor at Hogwarts, and in that time he had earned not just the respect of his students, but the admiration of his peers. When Umbridge insinuated that he might lack the necessary certifications to teach, Flitwick's response was swift, yet calm. Without raising his voice or losing his composure, he informed her that he had all the necessary certificates and diplomas. The phrasing was matter of fact, and his voice held no tremor of uncertainty. His words didn't carry the fire of open rebellion, but they spoke volumes all the same. It wasn't just a factual response. It was an assertion of his worth and his right to be there, a quiet but unmistakable refusal to let her belittle him. What was particularly striking about this moment was the way Flitwick handled the situation without fanfare. There was no long-winded defense, no heated argument. Instead, he offered a polite, restrained bow to Umbridge, a move that in itself was an act of resistance. He was showing her respect in the only way he knew how, which was to maintain the high ground while simultaneously refusing to back down. His actions were a reminder that dignity could be a form of rebellion in itself, particularly when it came to someone like Umbridge, who thrived on degrading others. The reaction from Umbridge was telling. She was accustomed to wielding her authority with force, using fear and intimidation to bend people to her will. But Flitwick's calm, unwavering response completely disarmed her. The bow the subtle emphasis on his qualifications, the way he carried on with the lesson. All of these elements made it clear that Flitwick would not be cowed by her. Umbridge, for all her authoritarian posturing, was left momentarily without words, unable to manipulate or break him. It was an eloquent rebuke without the need for any public confrontation or shouting match. In a way, Flitwick had shown her that the smallest, most seemingly insignificant person could hold a power that defied her authority. What made Flitwick's response so remarkable was that it wasn't just a defense of his own honor. It was a defense of the Hogwarts faculty as a whole. In many ways, Flitwick's understated resistance symbolized a larger struggle. At Hogwarts, there were many professors who, like him, were not particularly interested in making waves. They preferred to teach, to guide, and to help their students grow. But Umbridge's tyrannical regime was a different kind of challenge, one that demanded a certain kind of defiance, even from those who typically shied away from conflict. Flitwick's refusal to submit to her questioning of his qualifications was a clear, albeit quiet, stand against her oppressive regime. The lesson that students took away from that moment, however, wasn't about the details of charms or the intricacies of Flitwick's teachings. It was about the importance of standing firm in the face of injustice. By offering his polite but firm response, Flitwick demonstrated that one didn't have to shout, bully, or dominate to make a statement. Sometimes the most powerful way to resist was through calmness, dignity, and grace. It was a valuable lesson, especially for students like Harry, who were learning firsthand how to navigate the growing tensions between the ministry and the resistance that was starting to form at Hogwarts. In the larger context of the Order of the Phoenix, where many of the characters struggled with their roles in the fight against Voldemort and the ministry, Flitwick's actions served as a reminder of the quiet strength that came with self-respect and integrity. Throughout the book, there were moments of emotional and physical conflict, but Flitwick's response to Umbridge was a reminder that resistance could also be intellectual and personal. His quiet but firm refusal to be intimidated embodied the kind of moral courage that was often required in the face of powerful and oppressive forces. It was this very kind of resistance that helped shape the atmosphere at Hogwarts during Umbridge's reign. While many students and staff were openly defiant, others, like Flitwick, fought their battles in quieter, more subtle ways. His resistance was not about grand gestures, but about preserving the dignity of both the individual and the institution he loved. And in doing so, he reminded everyone who witnessed that moment that sometimes standing up for what's right doesn't require shouting or grandstanding. It simply requires the strength to remain calm, composed, and unwavering in the face of adversity. In the end, what made Professor Flitwick's response to Umbridge so memorable wasn't just the fact that he stood up to her. It was the way he did it. In that brief exchange, he demonstrated that even the smallest among us can find a way to make their voice heard, and that true strength does not always lie in confrontation, but in the quiet assertion of one is worth. It was a lesson that not only Umbridge, but all who witnessed it would not soon forget. Number 26 made jokes even during wartime preparations. Professor Phileas Flitwick, the diminutive charms professor at Hogwarts, is known to many for his intelligence, talent, and kindness. However, what makes him stand out even more, particularly in the context of the dark times that the wizarding world faced during the Second Wizarding War, is his unyielding sense of humor. Throughout the perilous events that unfolded, Flitwick remained a beacon of light, using humour to cope with the darkness that loomed over the wizarding world. His ability to bring levity to the direst of circumstances was one of his greatest assets, helping not only to maintain morale, but also to fortify the spirits of those around him. One such instance of this occurred during the Battle of Hogwarts, when the weight of the impending conflict hung heavy over the school. As preparations for the battle intensified, Professor Flitwick, alongside the other staff members, was doing all he could to ready the castle for the onslaught that was expected. The walls of Hogwarts, once a sanctuary of learning and safety, were now poised to defend against a siege led by the Dark Lord himself. Every member of the school, from the youngest first-year students to the oldest and most experienced professors, had a role to play. In this atmosphere of tension and uncertainty, Professor Flitwick stood out as an unlikely source of comfort. It was during this time, as the professors and students scrambled to set up defensive spells and strategize the castle's fortifications, that Flitwick, ever the optimist, lightened the mood with a characteristic remark. In the midst of all the chaos, as plans were being discussed and final preparations were made, Flitwick quipped, "If the suits of armour come to life at the wrong time, let us say to greet Voldemort with a hug. Please forgive me, I'm not an expert in polite duelling." His comment, delivered with that twinkle in his eye that was so familiar to his students, did more than just break the tension. It reminded everyone that even in the most trying of times, there was room for a little laughter. For many of the students, this moment was unforgettable. Hermione Granger, no stranger to the pressures of the war, was among those who found comfort in Flitwick's unexpected humour. She had always admired his gentle yet authoritative demeanour, but in that particular instance, it was his ability to find humour even in such dark times that made him stand out even more. Flitwick's comment was not just an attempt at levity, it was a reminder of the importance of staying strong, of finding moments of joy even when the world seemed to be falling apart. His humour, though subtle, had a profound impact on the students, helping to remind them of the power of resilience and the importance of staying true to themselves no matter the odds. Professor Flitwick's ability to maintain his sense of humour was not just an isolated incident. It was a characteristic that he carried throughout the entire war. In times when most would have succumbed to fear or despair, Flitwick remained steadfast in his belief that joy could still be found, even in the midst of the darkest times. His humour was not just an escape from the horrors around him, it was an act of defiance against the forces that sought to destroy the wizarding world. By choosing to laugh, Flitwick refused to let Voldemort's reign of terror completely extinguish the spirit of Hogwarts. This moment, when he joked about the suits of armour greeting Voldemort, wasn't the only time Flitwick's humour played a crucial role in the battle for Hogwarts. His ability to make others laugh and to keep them grounded was essential during the defence of the school. As the castle battlements were lined with spells and students were preparing for the possibility of death, Flitwick's wit acted as a much-needed antidote to the tension that could have easily taken over. His humour wasn't a distraction, it was a reminder that despite the immense challenges they faced, they were still human. They were still capable of laughter and warmth, even as the world around them seemed to burn. This light-hearted approach was not only seen during moments of preparation, but was also reflected in Flitwick's interactions with his students. Even in the midst of the war, Flitwick never lost his affectionate, fatherly attitude toward his pupils. His classroom remained a safe space, a sanctuary where students could escape the pressures of the outside world and focus on their magical studies. Though the threat of the Dark Lord's forces was ever present, Flitwick's classroom was a place where his students could still experience the wonder and joy that came with learning magic. In this environment, humor was not just a coping mechanism, it was an integral part of the educational experience that Flitwick provided. During the war, as the students faced their own battles, Flitwick, a steady presence and his willingness to find humor, even in the most dire of situations, offered them a sense of stability. His light-hearted remarks and jokes were more than just distractions. They were a source of strength, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and joy were still within reach. When the pressure mounted and the battle raged outside the walls of Hogwarts, it was Flitwick's humor that reminded everyone of what they were fighting for: their freedom, their families, their school, and the hope that they could still find moments of joy amidst the darkness. Flitwick's role in the Battle of Hogwarts exemplified not just his magical prowess, but his emotional intelligence as well. He understood the value of humor in warfare, recognizing that it wasn't just about strategy or spells, it was about morale. In the face of Voldemort's terror, Flitwick knew that to give in to despair would be to lose the battle before it even began. His jokes, his light-heartedness, and his ability to bring smiles to faces that had seen too much pain were essential to the fight against darkness. Flitwick's humor was a weapon in its own right, one that, though it couldn't physically defeat Voldemort, could provide the strength necessary to keep fighting. And so in the midst of the greatest battle the wizarding world had ever faced, when the students of Hogwarts were faced with the impossible, Professor Flitwick continued to stand as a pillar of light and humor. Even when it seemed as though the world was teetering on the edge of destruction, Flitwick refused to let that be the final word. His jokes were not a dismissal of the gravity of the situation. Rather, they were a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest moments there was still the possibility of laughter. This was the kind of professor Flitwick was, someone who, even in the face of overwhelming darkness, chose to bring light into the world, no matter how small or fleeting it seemed. Professor Flitwick's humor wasn't just a quirk. It was a cornerstone of his character. It was a reminder that even in war, even in loss, there was still room for joy. And that perhaps was the most powerful lesson of all. Number 27 declined a seat in the Wizengamot to keep teaching. Professor Phileas Flitwick, the charming and diminutive charms master at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, is often seen as a character who represents kindness, wisdom, and an unwavering dedication to education. His small stature and jovial nature tend to obscure the depth of his convictions and the significant role he plays in the wizarding world. However, hidden beneath his cheerful demeanor lies a fascinating detail about his character, one that only those who have read the books thoroughly might truly appreciate. Flitwick, despite his vast talent and influence, was once offered a prestigious position in the Wizengamot, the magical court of Britain, but he declined the offer. This decision not only reflects his personal values, but also underscores his devotion to his true calling as a teacher and mentor at Hogwarts. In the wizarding world, the Wizengamot is the highest court of magic, a council that oversees legal matters of great importance, ranging from serious criminal cases to important political decisions. The fact that Professor Flitwick, a mere teacher at a school, was considered worthy of such an esteemed position speaks volumes about his reputation within the magical community. It suggests that he was not only a master of charms, but also held a certain degree of respect among his peers in the Ministry of Magic. The decision to offer him a place in the Wizengamot was likely influenced by his accomplishments as a wizard, his vast knowledge, and his ability to remain neutral and impartial, qualities that would make him an ideal candidate for such a powerful position. However, Flitwick's response to the offer was not one of ambition or desire for political power. He politely declined the invitation, stating that he preferred to focus on teaching rather than participating in the political sphere. In doing so, he revealed a fundamental aspect of his character, his deep commitment to education, and his belief that shaping the minds of young witches and wizards was a far more meaningful pursuit than engaging in the political machinations of the magical world. This act of turning down power speaks to a quiet but resolute conviction that Flitwick's purpose lay in the classroom, not the courtroom. Flitwick's decision to remain at Hogwarts was, in many ways, an expression of his belief in the importance of nurturing the next generation. He was a teacher who viewed his role not merely as a means to impart knowledge, but as a sacred responsibility to prepare his students for the challenges they would face in the world. For him, the future of the wizarding world depended on the education of its youth, not on the decisions made in the chambers of the Wizengamot. This was a man who understood the power of knowledge and how it could be used to shape the future, and he chose to devote himself to that cause instead of seeking out the temporary prestige that came with political power. Throughout the series, Flitwick is portrayed as a figure who is deeply content with his life at Hogwarts. Unlike other characters, such as Professor Snape or Professor McGonagall, who are often caught up in the complexities of political intrigue and personal ambition, Flitwick seems almost untouched by the broader conflicts that swirl around the wizarding world. His greatest joy appears to come from teaching and from seeing his students succeed. This is evident in the way he interacts with his pupils, always encouraging them, offering praise, and creating an atmosphere of respect and warmth in his classroom. His decision to stay at Hogwarts rather than enter the political arena is consistent with this ethos. He saw the value in direct engagement with students and their development, something far more profound to him than any title or recognition. One of the clearest demonstrations of Flitwick's dedication to teaching can be found in his interaction with Harry Potter and his friends. While other teachers, such as Professor Snape, often use their positions to exert control or manipulate the students for personal gain, Flitwick's approach was always one of support and guidance. He was a figure of encouragement, even in the most difficult times. His loyalty to Hogwarts and its students made him a trusted ally to Harry, Ron, Hermione, and the other members of Dumbledore's army. Flitwick played a vital role in the defense of the school during the Battle of Hogwarts, helping to cast protective charms around the castle and showing, once again, that his true commitment was to the well-being of the students rather than to any political agenda. By turning down the position in the Wizengamot, Flitwick demonstrated a rare sense of clarity about his priorities in life. He recognized that power and influence, while alluring to many, could be hollow pursuits if they came at the cost of the things that truly mattered. He chose to invest his energy in the lives of his students, helping them build the skills and confidence they would need to navigate the complexities of the wizarding world. His actions suggest that he saw the role of a teacher as more than just a job. It was a calling, a mission to guide and inspire the next generation. In this sense, Flitwick's life and choices serve as a reminder that there is more to success than titles and accolades. True fulfillment lies in finding purpose in his work and in contributing to the greater good. This decision also reveals the kind of person Flitwick was beyond the classroom. He was a man of principle, someone who was not easily swayed by the allure of political power or the expectations of others. While many would have eagerly accepted the position in the Wizengamot as a step toward greater influence, Flitwick saw through the surface appeal and understood that his greatest impact would come through teaching. It was a rare act of selflessness, especially in a world as politically charged as the wizarding community, where many characters such as Cornelius Fudge or Dolores Umbridge were driven by a desire for control and recognition. Flitwick, however, understood that true influence was not about having power over others. It was about empowering others to succeed on their own. His decision to remain at Hogwarts can also be seen as a rejection of the sometimes cynical nature of political life. The Wizengamot, like any political body, was a place of compromise and negotiation, where decisions were made not only based on the law, but also on personal ambition and political alliances. For someone like Flitwick, who valued integrity and fairness, such a system may have felt too limiting or disheartening. Instead of entering a world where decisions were often clouded by ambition and power struggles, he chose to remain in a position where he could directly affect positive change, working with young minds and imparting the values of wisdom, kindness, and fairness. In the end, Professor Flitwick's refusal to join the Wizengamot speaks volumes about his character. It highlights his dedication to the principles of education, his belief in the power of knowledge, and his understanding that true influence comes not from political office but from the ability to shape and inspire others. His decision was a quiet but powerful reminder that some of the most important contributions to society are made not in the halls of power, but in the classrooms where teachers like Flitwick work tirelessly to create a better future. Through his actions, he showed that he valued the pursuit of knowledge above the pursuit of power, and in doing so, he set an example for all those who seek to make a lasting impact on the world. Number 28. Created magical music spells for Hogwarts concerts. In the magical world of Harry Potter, many of the most fascinating details are often hidden within the pages, offering deeper layers to beloved characters and settings. One such detail revolves around Professor Flitwick, the charming and diminutive charms master at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Known for his expertise in charms and his endearing personality, Flitwick is often seen as one of the more approachable and kind-hearted figures at the school. However, few realize the true extent of his contributions to the magical world, especially when it comes to his role in Hogwarts' musical traditions. A particularly unique and lesser-known fact about Professor Flitwick is that he developed a remarkable charm for the Hogwarts Orchestra, a spell that enabled musical instruments to play themselves, much like an orchestra responding to the waves of a conductor's baton. This charm, which remains largely unknown to the wider wizarding world, was an innovation that transformed how music was presented at Hogwarts. The idea of an orchestra that could perform without the need for musicians was not only practical, but magical in its execution. In a school like Hogwarts, where students were typically more focused on mastering spells and potions than musical performance, Flitwick's charm opened up a world of possibilities for artistic expression that transcended the limitations of ordinary human performers. The charm allowed the instruments themselves to come to life, responding to the subtle movements of the conductor's wand, as if they were truly being guided by an invisible hand. The first public performance of this enchanted orchestra occurred during one of the many grand events at Hogwarts, perhaps most notably at the Yule Ball. This annual celebration, brimming with excitement and grandeur, required an orchestra that could not only provide the background music, but also deliver a performance that would captivate both the students and the magical guests in attendance. It was here that Flitwick's charm truly came to life, as the instruments, some of which, like the violins and horns, were notoriously difficult to play, began to play beautiful, intricate music without a single student laying a finger on them. The sound was mesmerizing, filling the hall with rich, harmonious melodies that echoed through the castle's grand ballroom. In the past, Hogwarts events had been accompanied by music, but these performances typically required students to perform live or rely on recorded magical sounds. Flitwick's charm eliminated the need for student musicians entirely. Students no longer needed to be skilled in the art of music to contribute to the orchestra. They only needed to know how to conduct, With the swish of a wand, the orchestra was at the command of the conductor, creating magical, enchanting music that enhanced every event. This innovation also allowed the orchestra to play at an incredibly high level of skill, as Flitwick. His charm ensured that the instruments played perfectly in tune without the risk of a wrong note. Flitwick's work with the orchestra was deeply rooted in his understanding of both magic and music, two disciplines that are not always thought to be interconnected. However, for someone as well versed in charms as Flitwick, the connection between the two was obvious. Music, in many ways, could be seen as another form of magic, a way to influence emotions, bring people together, and even cast spells with the power of sound. This understanding was what made Flitwick's charm so unique and effective. He had been able to translate the intricate art of orchestral music into a magical formula, one that allowed him to control instruments as if they were extensions of the conductor's own will. The magic of the Hogwarts Orchestra also served as a symbol of Flitwick's larger role at the school. As charms master, he was always looking for ways to bring a touch of magic to the everyday lives of the students. From levitating feathers to enchanting brooms for Quidditch practice, Flitwick's magical inventions were always practical, helping students to better navigate their education and their lives at Hogwarts. His charm for the orchestra was no different in that regard. It allowed students to experience the joy of music without the burden of having to learn to play an instrument, making it accessible to everyone, regardless of their skill level. The charm was also a testament to Flitwick's deep care for the students at Hogwarts. Unlike other professors who may have focused more on academic success or magical proficiency, Flitwick understood the importance of creativity, culture, and joy in the lives of his students. He believed that magic was not just about power or utility, it was about expression, beauty, and art. This belief was reflected in his approach to teaching charms, where he often encouraged students to think outside the box and experiment with their magic. His charm for the orchestra was a perfect example of this philosophy, as it allowed the students to experience the beauty of music without the constraints of skill. Though Flitwick's charm for the orchestra was groundbreaking, it was also relatively secretive. Only those who were closely involved with the Hogwarts events, such as the students in charge of organizing the Yule Ball or other formal gatherings, would have been aware of its existence. The charm was not something that was openly discussed or demonstrated to the entire student body, but rather something that quietly worked in the background to ensure that the music always played perfectly. Flitwick's own pride in the charm was evident whenever he would watch one of the orchestra's performances. His small frame would tremble with excitement as he saw the instruments come to life, moving and playing under the guidance of the conductor. It was a magical moment, one that embodied his belief in the power of magic to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. His eyes would often sparkle with a mischievous glint, as though he were witnessing something truly spectacular, and in many ways he was. Flitwick had achieved something few others in the wizarding world could claim. He had made music even more magical than it already was. In many ways, the Enchanted Orchestra embodied the heart of Flitwick's character. He was someone who believed in the beauty of both magic and the world around him, always seeking ways to make life more enchanting. His charm for the orchestra was not just about creating beautiful music, it was about fostering a sense of wonder, joy, and togetherness within the Hogwarts community. Music, after all, has the power to bring people together in ways that words cannot, and Flitwick knew this better than anyone. Despite the charm success, it remained a relatively little-known fact tucked away in the corners of Hogwarts' many mysteries. It wasn't something that was spoken of openly or widely acknowledged by the students, many of whom simply took the orchestra performances for granted. For most, the Kung charm was just another example of Flitwick's genius, a piece of magic that helped make the school a more enchanting place to live and learn. But for those who paid attention, it was a testament to the wizarding world's ability to merge the arts with magic in the most unexpected ways. Through his charm, Professor Flitwick not only enhanced the magic of music at Hogwarts, but he also ensured that the spirit of creativity and collaboration would continue to thrive within the school's walls. His contribution to the Hogwarts Orchestra was just one of many ways in which he left his mark on the school, and his legacy as a master of both charms and creativity endures even in the quieter moments of the magical world. Number 29. Wore a top hat on festive occasions. Professor Flitwick, a character in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series, often stands out for his peculiar charm, both as a wizard and as an individual. Though many may remember him as the diminutive, jovial charms teacher at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, those who delve deeper into the books are aware of a fascinating detail about Flitwick, his character, his distinctive sense of style, particularly his fondness for wearing a top hat on special occasions. This small but telling detail not only adds depth to his character but also highlights aspects of his personality that many may overlook at first glance. For Flitwick, his appearance was as much a form of expression as his formidable magical abilities. Throughout the series, we learn that Flitwick is a wizard of great skill, highly respected by his students and peers alike. He's particularly known for his expertise in charms, teaching students how to perform intricate spells with precision. But beyond his magical prowess, Flitwick's sense of style reveals something more personal. When it comes to special events at Hogwarts like Christmas feasts or the Yule Ball, Professor Flitwick is always dressed to the nines. His outfit, which includes a carefully tailored suit and, most notably, a top hat, sets him apart from the other professors. This detail, though minor in comparison to the grandiose moments of magic and mystery at Hogwarts, gives us a glimpse into Flitwick's personality, a man who not only valued magic but also took pride in presenting himself with dignity and flair. The first mention of Flitwick's top hat occurs during the Christmas feast in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. The scene is filled with the bustling activity of the students and staff preparing for the holiday celebration. As the students settle down at their tables, Harry Potter notices that Professor Flitwick, with his small frame and snowy hair, enters the hall resplendent in his festive attire. He wears a tuxedo and the unmistakable top hat, a symbol of elegance and formality. This image of Flitwick, in stark contrast to the more casual appearances of other professors, offers readers an endearing look at a man who values the finer things in life. It's not just about magic for Flitwick, it's about embracing life's joy and sharing it with others, something his stylish attire subtly communicates. For the students of Hogwarts, Flitwick's appearance at these events becomes a symbol of the importance of decorum and celebration. The Yule Ball in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is another key example. The event is described as a lavish affair, with students in elegant robes and faculty members dressed in their best attire. Once again, Flitwick stands out, not only for his height, but for his impeccable fashion sense. The top hat is his trademark, and it serves as a visual cue that Flitwick takes pride in the moments that transcend daily life, moments when magic and the mundane come together to create something special. What makes this detail particularly interesting is that it speaks to Flitwick's background and his position at Hogwarts. Though Flitwick is known as the Charms Professor, a subject often associated with smaller spells and more delicate magic, his background is rich with layers. In the book series, it is suggested that Flitwick is of mixed heritage, with part of his ancestry tracing back to the House of Ravenclaw. This connection to Ravenclaw is particularly interesting because it ties into his sense of intellectual elegance and refinement. Ravenclaw House, known for its focus on wisdom, wit, and intellectual pursuits, aligns well with Flitwick, his demeanour, and his penchant for appearing polished and thoughtful at all times. His top hat can thus be seen as a symbol of this tradition, a nod to the values of his house, even in moments of celebration. Flitwick, his top hat isn't just a quirky fashion choice, it also reflects his role within the magical world. As a teacher, he is a mentor to students like Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, and Ron Weasley. But as a human being, Flitwick shows a kind of sophistication that sets him apart from the more eccentric characters, like Professor Dumbledore or Professor Snape, whose distinct styles are often associated with their more flamboyant or somber personalities. Flitwick, on the other hand, balances his formal attire with a genuine warmth and charm, making him a beloved figure at Hogwarts. His appearance is a bridge between the magical world and the world of Muggles, reminding everyone that there is a place for elegance and grace, even in a school full of spellcasters and mystical creatures. There is also a psychological depth to Flitwick's choice of attire. Choice. It's not just about looking good or following tradition, it's about his desire to make those around him feel special and appreciated. The top hat, an item often associated with nobility and high society, becomes a tool for creating an atmosphere of importance and respect at Hogwarts' formal events. When Flitwick dons his cylinder, he's not just dressing for himself, he's dressing for the occasion, for the students, and for the magical community that looks up to him. His attire is a reflection of the respect he has for the traditions and celebrations that bind the magical world together. In addition to his role as a teacher, Flitwick's fashion choices underscore his place as a figure of authority at Hogwarts. As the charms professor, he is one of the many individuals who shape the future of young witches and wizards. His impeccable sense of style subtly communicates his professional status, not through words or grand gestures, but through small, thoughtful acts like the wearing of a top hat. This attention to detail speaks to his confidence and self-assurance, as well as his understanding of how appearances can influence the atmosphere of a gathering. It is fascinating to consider how such a small detail can have such a big impact on Flitwick's character. The top hat, while a simple piece of clothing, is an item that stands as a testament to his taste, his commitment to tradition, and his understanding of the magical world, his rituals. It's a reflection of his personal history, a way for him to maintain a connection to the greater magical community. For the students at Hogwarts, Flitwick's sartorial choices offer a quiet lesson in the power of appearance, how what we wear can help set the tone for the world around us. What makes Flitwick even more intriguing is that he is a teacher of magic, a person whose skills in the magical arts are well beyond those of most wizards. However, despite his mastery in charms, Flitwick is not one to flaunt his knowledge or skills in grand displays of power. Instead, he demonstrates a more understated approach to both his teaching and his personal life. His top hat symbolizes this quiet confidence. He doesn't need to boast or draw attention to himself. His charm and style speak for themselves. In the grand scheme of the Harry Potter series, Flitwick's top hat may seem like a trivial detail, but it is these subtle character traits that make him a beloved and memorable figure in the story. Through his fashion, Flitwick expresses his personality, his values, and his place within the world of magic. His top hat serves as a reminder that elegance and grace have a place in every corner of life, even in the most magical of schools. For those who pay attention, this small but significant detail enriches Flitwick's character, making him more than just a teacher, but a figure whose presence adds a touch of class to the world of Harry Potter.